Hello, good evening, and welcome, everyone. I'm delighted to have you here with us tonight. I'd like to warmly welcome you to our Welcome to DegreeWorks webinar. My name is Emily Schreinemakers, and I'm a first-year experience specialist here at the CUNY School of Professional Studies. Our paths may have crossed back in August during orientation, and if that's the case, it's a pleasure to see you again. So I've been working with DegreeWorks, this particular tool, for several years now, mostly as an academic advisor. I was also a CUNY student myself, so I'm familiar with the platform and a lot of the features connected to it. There's a lot of helpful content for you tonight, and I can't wait to get started. It's my hope that you find this material useful and that it encourages you to ask questions, explore, and ultimately take charge of your degree and your path to graduation. So let's get started. So let's briefly review what we'll be covering tonight. So firstly, we're going to look deeper into what DegreeWorks actually is. You may have encountered this tool at a previous college or during your advisement sessions here at CUNY SPS, but you may not have had a chance to fully explore its capabilities and how it is linked to your degree progress. So next, we'll move into how to access the tool itself. Studies show that the average person uses around 9 different apps per day, so it can get a bit overwhelming to keep track of how to find and log into these different platforms. So we will take a moment to walk through how to find the tool and appropriately log on to your personal page. After we've actually logged into DegreeWorks, we'll delve into the content of the page itself and how to interpret the information that you can find within. After, we'll take a look at some of students' favorite tools, such as the GPA Calculator, Look Ahead feature, and others. And finally, we'll wrap up with a list of important contacts and resources related to DegreeWorks, as well as a short Q&A session. So let's get started. So before we dive into the specifics of things, because DegreeWorks, you'll see very quickly, is something that has a lot of different areas and specific details, let's get oriented with a general scope of what this tool actually is. So DegreeWorks is essentially a digital checklist of your degree requirements at CUNY SPS. And every student has their own personal page, which I personally think is pretty cool. It's an easy way to view your personal degree requirements, any transfer credits that you have brought in with you from other colleges. This is provided that your transfer credit evaluation has been completed. A little more on that later. And it also shows courses that are currently in progress, as well as courses that are required for graduation. It's a particularly powerful tool used used in conjunction with conversations with your academic advisor, who can help you appropriately interpret the information found on your personal DegreeWorks page. DegreeWorks can also be used to determine whether some courses are eligible for financial aid. However, we won't delve into that into this webinar, as those questions are best directed towards the financial aid department. So just a disclaimer about that. So now that we have an idea of what DegreeWorks actually is, what it can do, what you have the power to do with it, let's talk about how to actually access it. So I recommend, if you have your phone with you, most people always have it with them, I would recommend screenshotting this page so you have this for ease of access. So now that you've heard about all these features, I'm sure you want to know how to actually log on to it. So this is the link that you can follow, and you would insert your CUNY First credentials. So essentially your first name dot last name, plus the last 2 of your EMPL ID. You would also use your CUNY First password as well. I also encourage you, if you would like to do a window on the side, to make this more hands-on too, you could actually try to log in right now to see if you're able to just get onto your account. Some students find that helpful too, but not a requirement for this webinar. So once you've logged in with your CUNY credentials, you'll be brought to a page that's similar to this one picture here. In my particular case, I was a Baruch College student, so my DegreeWorks from that institution also appears. If you've attended another CUNY, this may be the case for you as well. For our intents and purposes, we'll click on the DegreeWorks link that is under School of Professional Studies. You'll see that there is a listing of the school, and then the DegreeWorks link is right underneath. And you can go ahead and click on that to open your personal audit. So before we get into the specifics of what you're going to see on the next page, suspense, I know, I'd like to point out a term that you're going to hear me refer to often. I'm going to often mention blocks because DegreeWorks is essentially made up entirely of what we call different blocks or sections of your personal degree audit. These different blocks each provide you with unique information regarding your personal progress towards degree completion. So let's take a closer look at those. So this is assuming you've logged in, you've used your CUNY credentials, you've clicked on DegreeWorks under CUNY School of Professional Studies, you open up the page, this is typically what you see right at the top. Certain pieces of information here have been blocked out for privacy purposes, but on your page, you'll see your EMPL ID in the upper left corner, your full name that's on file with the college, as well as the degree type, major, and a few other pieces of information. This is especially helpful, I think, because maybe you decided to change your major and you want to see if this was reflected, for example. This is a good spot to see and to be sure that we want your degree audit to reflect what you're actually pursuing. That's the ultimate goal. So you want to make sure that that information is accurate, and that's one point that you can check to make sure that everything is up to date. Now, what I want to draw your attention to here on this page is the Worksheets tab, which contains the blocks that we've just mentioned. So it's important to note that the Worksheets tab is actually selected by default. So you've logged into DegreeWorks, it opens up, you see all your information at the top, and by default, it's going to be on the Worksheets tab. So once you open this page, you can start scrolling through your initial information. So essentially for this first portion, I'm just going to walk you through the different blocks. We're not going to get too much into the specifics of what you could find there. I can show you the information that you will find, but it's very personal to each student. So what you may see on your end may not exactly look the same, but my goal is to show you what type of information you can glean from this page. So in the student view block, you'll see some repeated information like your name, EMPL ID, but this section also shows you the number of credits that have been accepted and transferred in by the college. It's important to note that this number only reflects any transcripts that you shared with the college and credits that have been evaluated and actually posted to your account. The student view block up top also shows your cumulative GPA and does not count courses that are in progress because obviously they haven't been completed, so there's no posted grade, can't be contributing to the GPA. So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, further down in the degree block, you'll see sort of this like orange square that I've put. You'll see the number of credits required for, You'll see the number of credits required. Hold on one second. I just lost something here. So I'm sorry, on the right-hand side here, you'll see the number of credits required for your degree or certificate and other details. This block also serves as an overview of the other information you'll find on the page. So for example, once you finish your 120 credits, the 120 credit portion will have a green check mark and so on. Once you finish your college option, your major requirements, you'll also see a green check mark indicating completion. So scrolling down a bit further, we reach what's called the general education block. So here's where you'll see your progress with general education courses in areas such as English, math, science, and other liberal arts areas. So for this particular student, again, privacy protected, but showing the information here, it looks like they've completed all their general education requirements at a community college. We can see this by the fact that all of the boxes have green check marks, but we can also take a look at the credits in the upper right corner. So for degree students, 30 credits are required. So you can see that the students' 30 credits are reflected in the upper right corner of the audit. You'll also notice that you can see the source of the credits, that is whether they were taken at CUNY SPS or at another institution. So in this student's case, they've been transferred in from Bronx Community College, as you can see by the blue arrow that's indicating there. You'll also notice in the upper right, in this particular example, this was intentional, 30 credits are required, but you may see that 31 credits have been applied to this section. That's totally normal. That typically means that a student took a 4-credit course somewhere, or the calibration changed based on the number of courses they took. But as long as you have each of these requirement designations filled out, you're good to go. So scrolling down a bit further, you'll see more blocks. We have what's called the college option and the major blocks. Again, this is for degree students specifically. Here you can see your progress with regards to completing CUNY SPS's college-specific requirements, the college option, as well as your major courses. So for this particular student, I picked a psychology major, right? As I know there's a lot of students that have selected that major, so I tried to pick one that may be relevant to more students. And what we see here is that the courses that have been completed, either through transfer or by completion at CUNY SPS, have the green check mark and are highlighted in yellow. Courses that are in progress, or IP, as you see on the page, have this little blue squiggly line to help you differentiate them. This is actually what a lot of you are probably seeing if you've opened up your own audit during the course of this webinar, or if you've done it at another point in the semester. You'll likely see your fall 2021 courses highlighted in blue, with the blue bar indicating that they are in progress. And the semester can be seen on the right-hand side. So for example, with this student, you see they have summer 2021. That's when the course is transferred into CUNY SPS. And the U indicates undergraduate. So this student is taking Sci 240 this fall semester as an undergraduate student. So we're almost to the end of the worksheet page, of the initial audit page. So in this last portion of your audit, you'll see what's called your elective bucket. Now, every student's bucket is calculated differently, so I'm going to tread very carefully here with an explanation, as everyone's situation will be unique and different. But again, my purpose is to sort of just show you these different categories, what you may be seeing on your audit. And my hope is that you can utilize this as a catalyst to speak with your advisor. So if you see something that you'd like to discuss further, you need some clarification, or you just want to understand better, I really encourage you to open up this page and navigate to these portions and see if you understand how things are being distributed on your audit. So the courses in the free elective bucket section do not apply to the gen ed, college option, all the different portions that we just looked at, but they do apply to your degree requirements. So another important thing to remember, another disclaimer regarding the elective bucket section. Remember that this section is dynamic. This is not set in stone. This can change. It can change based on what you enroll for. So again, I just want to reiterate, I highly recommend contacting your assigned academic advisor if you have questions about how the electives are distributed. Again, today we're not going to go into all those details. My purpose is really more just to show you the different blocks and the different types of information, and to encourage you to ask questions about these portions. All right, so we've gotten to the bottom of the worksheet page. So here's another spot where you can see courses in progress, along with the term on the right-hand side. So for this particular student, you can see they're taking 12 credits, right? Indicated there's the 3, 6, 9, 12. You can see the semester they're taking them and the specific courses, right? So if it's another quick spot, if you just want to see it all in one spot, like everything that you're registered for in the fall semester, as opposed to picking it and seeing it in the different sections on the audit, quick spot to see it. You can also see if there are any exemptions or exceptions. These are performed on a case-by-case basis though. So again, want to tread carefully with that, but I wanted to point out what that looks like. You may see these exceptions listed towards the bottom of the page and who actually put them on your audit. So that's just something I wanted to draw your attention to. And additionally, this is not this particular student's case, but this section is also a spot that will show non-passing grades. So for example, if that's applicable to you, if you're in a program that requires a C or better, you may see a C- go down there. You may see an F, a WU. Those types of grades would also appear as unsatisfactory grades in another section that shows that with a blue stripe. Phew, okay. So that was a lot of information and very specific and pointing to these different categories on the audit. So let's take a moment to just switch gears. We reviewed the type of information that you can see on the main worksheet page on Degree Audit. And in addition to seeing these very specific details about what classes are in progress, what's transferred in, and what's left to complete your degree. In addition to all that, which is amazing in and of itself, I feel, DegreeWorks also has an array of other tools to support you as you steer through your academic journeys. So let's check those out. So the first one I want to draw your attention to is called the Student Education Planner, or the SEP, as you'll hear me refer to it. And the SEP is an excellent tool that you can use in collaboration with your academic advisor. It's essentially a planning tool that you can use together with your advisor to plan out your future semesters. You can list the classes you plan to take next semester. You can view notes that your advisor may have placed on these courses, and even see if the courses are considered on track for your degree. So in order to access SEP and all its features, all you need to do is click on the Plans tab in DegreeWorks. Now this is indicated by this little yellow circle here. This is right next to the Worksheets tab that we began with. Right, so we start from our initial page, which is Worksheets, and then we're just moving a little bit to the right now to the next feature. Once you click on Plans, you will be brought to this different screen. Now, an important note before I delve into a little deeper into what we see on this page: only your academic advisor can create one of these plans for you. So if you don't have one created, the Plans tab will be blank. So that's just an FYI. And if you open yours up and you see that the page is blank, don't worry. This is actually a great opportunity for you to reach out to your advisor so that you can work together to create a plan for the spring 2022 semester. So continuing on, if you do have a plan created, or once you have one created with your advisor, after clicking on the Plans tab, you will see something similar to this page that's appearing right now. There will be a description listed, your degree type, the term, and the courses that you've been advised to take for the following semester, sort of like in this bubble format. You'll also notice that there's space for your advisor to specify if they want to put a minimum grade, the credits for the course, and whether or not a course is considered critical for your next semester. So this is just an example pointing out to the AMER 200 course. And if you have future semester plans as well, those would appear in a separate gray bar. So you would have, let's say, fall 2022 can appear, spring 2023, etc. So moving on, something else I want to bring to your attention, especially if you're looking closely at your plan. If you see 3 lines pictured on the small paper next to each course, this designates that your advisor has left important notes regarding the course. So to view the notes, you can actually hover your mouse over this icon and the notes will appear. For example, in the plan I created for the purposes of this workshop, I've inserted a note that reads courses required for graduation next semester. This is just an example of something that you could see. This could be anything really that your advisor would want to communicate with you. Needs to repeat course, whatever the case may be. But it's good to know that you can just sort of hover over it and then the notes will appear for you. So let's move on to the next portion. So the SEP is actually an especially useful tool in collaboration with your advisor and can even help you plan out how many semesters are remaining for your degree. I actually had a few emails about this, so I was excited to share this with you all. So for example, once you've placed the courses into the planner, right, let's say your advisor has given you 4 or 5 courses over the next couple of semesters in those little bubbles from the previous page, you can conduct what's called an audit simulation. So it's not reality per se, it's sort of simulating what you've discussed with your advisor. So you can conduct an audit simulation to show where the courses that were put into your plan would fall into your degree. So it's sort of simulating going back to the worksheets page, which was the first one that we looked at. It's like you're simulating future semesters and visualizing how many courses you'll have left. So once you have multiple semester steps in your plan, let's say you planned all the way to spring 2023, fall 2023, right? You can click on the audit button and DegreeWorks will run a plan audit like the one pictured on this slide. This particular student has several semesters planned out, which is not always the case, and that's okay. It could just be maybe the next semester with 2 or 3 courses listed, right? All of the courses in blue text are either in the student's current semester or planned for a future one. So you start to see how you can visualize what's going on. In doing this, this particular student was able, because it's a real plan that I pulled, he was able to see that after completing all the courses in blue, he would just need 6 credits to graduate, the HIM 205 and the HIM 210. You can sort of see this visually as the other courses are blue squiggly line in progress or planned for a future semester. And then the 2 that are remaining are kind of sticking out like a sore thumb. So visually, it helps students to sort of see what the next steps are, what's remaining. That's why I'm a big fan actually of the plan view, the audit. Okay. So that was the portion on the student education planner. So we're going to shift gears again. That was one major feature that, I recommend using in collaboration with your advisor. And now let's talk about another one that students really enjoy, and understandably so. So DegreeWorks does have GPA Calculator features, which can be very interesting to experiment with. So here I go again with my disclaimers. One disclaimer before I go further into this portion. So GPA calculations made through DegreeWorks are just estimates and they're not official. Much like the other features, DegreeWorks, again, is very for informative and for advisement purposes, and they're there to help you have a general idea of where you're at. That being said, feel free to experiment. None of these tools will change anything in your audit. Nothing's going to explode. It's not going to stop working. I really encourage you to delve in and actually use these tools and see how you feel about them and see if you're comfortable with them. So to access the GPA calculator, we're going back again to those tabs that you see on the top, right? So you're going to click on the GPA calculator tab on DegreeWorks, so indicated by this yellow circle here. You'll notice on the left-hand side that there are 3 different types of GPA calculators. We're going to go into each of those. So the first one is the graduation calculator. So the graduation calculator estimates the average GPA you need to maintain in your remaining courses to graduate with a desired GPA. So you can put in the number of credits remaining. Let's say you have 1 more semester, 12 credits remaining, right? And then you can select, like, for example, the student may want to jump to a 3.5 or a 3.6. You hit calculate and it would say you need to maintain this average. You need to maintain a B+ average, for example. The next calculator is the term calculator. This is my personal favorite out of the GPA calculators. I suppose I was a student myself and I would always obsess over what the next semester was going to look like. And also, let's say if I wanted to determine if I earned a B+ in a course, what would that look like? Worst case scenario, what if I get a B-? What's that going to look like? This is the tool for you. All right, so on this screen, after clicking on Term Calculator, the system will automatically populate the courses that you're currently registered for. Sometimes it might not, right? So if they just pop up blank, then you are able to manually put in the courses as well. So you would just put in the names on the left-hand side, the credits, and the grade that you anticipate. So the right-hand side, you'll see, again, you can put the grade, A+, A-, like the full gamut. You have the full list of grades that you can select from. Once you've input all the courses you plan to take or that you'd like to factor into this calculation, you can click on Calculate, and the system will show you an estimate of what your GPA will be if you earn the grades you input on the right-hand side. It's a pretty helpful tool. especially if you want to see what your GPA will look like if you earn A minus versus a B plus, for example, right? And the third GPA calculator is called the advice calculator. So this will tell you the number of credits and the grade you need to obtain your desired GPA. So for example, in this scenario, I input a 3.5 for this student because they're at a 3.466. So they'd say, okay, maybe I want to raise that to a 3.5. What would I need to take to reach that GPA? So sorry, just to link the two. So from this page, we would click calculate. And after clicking on calculate, you'll see a screen similar to this one. If it's mathematically possible to earn the credits, right, you have enough courses to take to be able to bump it up to this new GPA you'd like, you'll see a message like the one that you see on the screen now. The student would need to take one 3-credit course and earn a grade of A in order to bump their GPA to a 3.5 based on where they are right now. So something I'd like to remind students of too is that, again, remember that none of this impacts your record or changes anything on your audit. So feel free to experiment with these tools and try out different scenarios. Another thing that I want to emphasize too is that there will be, every participant today is going to get a link to DegreeWorks Toolkit, because I understand that these features, while they're incredible, they're very complex, right, and can take a lot of trial and error. So in your DegreeWorks Toolkit, you'll actually have links to PDFs that explain each of these features step by step with screenshots. So we ensured that you have something to take away with you, and also just step by step, because this can be overwhelming. This is a lot of information, and it took some time for me to learn myself as a student and eventually as an advisor. Okay, so we're almost at the finish line. So the last feature we're going to look at today is called the Look Ahead feature. So the Look Ahead feature, as you can see highlighted in the yellow square on the left-hand side, it's under the Worksheets tab. So you don't have to select any of the tabs up top. It's actually under the main worksheets. Now, this actually lets you see how a course will fit into the Worksheets page onto your degree audit. So after you click on Look Ahead, you'll be brought to the following screen. What I've done here is I've typed in 2 courses, Sci 230 and Sci 240. And when you go ahead and do this yourself, you would just type in the subject area. So that could be ENG, PSY, MAT, whatever the area is, and the number on the next field. So you put the number 230, 240, COM, and then 210, etc. So for example, right, I'd like to see how Sci 230 and Sci 240 fit into the current degree, right? So once you've added these classes to the list of the courses you are considering, because after you click Add Course, you would insert the subject, the number, click Add Course, you're going to see it appear on the list on the right-hand side for courses you're considering. After you're done, you can click on Process New to see how they'll fit in. So once you click on Process New, you'll be brought back to your new main worksheet page. Now remember that this is not reality again. This is another simulation, right? So the courses that you've inserted into the planned term through the Look Ahead feature will appear in blue text as if they were in progress, but it's a different sort of blue. Okay? If you've selected courses that are appropriate for the completion of your degree, you'll see them appear perfectly in their spots, just like you see here on this slide, right? You'll see the Sci 230 and the Sci 240 in bold, and you see the names of the courses, the learning and cognition, social cultural approaches, etc. Right? You'll also notice that the courses have a special designation on the right-hand side titled Planned Term. So this is how you know that, just in case you get lost, like these are the courses that you put into the Look Ahead feature, right? And then you'll know that these are just part of the planned term. And as soon as you hit worksheets again, all of this will disappear. So again, this is just sort of a simulation. Like if you were to take these courses in a future semester, this is where it would fall on your degree audit. Phew. So that was quite a bit of material. We've gone over the main features of DegreeWorks, the major blocks, the GPA calculator, the look ahead feature, and some of the helpful tools that can just make it easier to help you understand your degree path and make plans for the future. Right? But before we wrap up, I want to share some important tips to remember about DegreeWorks. While it is an extremely powerful tool, it is not a replacement for having a conversation with your advisor. As someone who's advised students for several years within CUNY, I can attest to this fact, and it's always better to have a conversation with an actual human being, and you work together and you collaborate to interpret what's on your audit. That being said, here are some other friendly reminders to keep in mind while you're using this tool. So first one, it's not an official transcript. It's purely informational and for advisement purposes, and it's not an official record of your grades. I've received this question before because students see that it posts your grades, it shows when you took them, so it's very easy to equate this to a transcript or think it's an official document. Again, it's purely for planning, advisement, experimenting, simulating, right? It's a very dynamic tool. It changes, it evolves, different from a transcript, which is sort of like, these are the grades, they're set, right? Another question that I've gotten before is whether it's a tool that's required to apply for graduation. It is not, right? So some students have asked me, after seeing everything checked off, and ask if they can apply for graduation using the tool itself. That's not the case. That's done on a completely different system on CUNY First, so leave that to the side. And the other thing that I want to point out too is that sometimes students are very eager, they want to jump in and see. So if you've registered for a course, it's not going to appear in progress on your DegreeWorks immediately. So this is something to keep in mind if you've just registered for something on CUNY First and you want to see how it goes onto your audit. What actually happens is the information on CUNY First feeds into DegreeWorks. So you have to give the servers around 24 to 48 hours to actually update this information, and then you'll see your courses and any changes updated on your degree audit. This also goes it's the same principle if you drop a course, for example, and you're saying, okay, why is it still showing in progress on my DegreeWorks? I've had questions like that before. Give it some time, 24 to 48 hours typically from the moment that you withdraw or drop the course on CUNY First. So in addition to sharing the resources, I also wanted to share important contact information because DegreeWorks is something that a lot of different departments are very knowledgeable about, and you want to make sure you reach out to the right camp, the right office, to ensure that you get the answers and the assistance and the support that you need. So first and foremost, I have to link to advisement. Now, as you all know, every student has an assigned academic advisor, so I strongly encourage you to reach out to them, to collaborate with them, utilize this tool as a catalyst to have meaningful and fruitful conversations with them. There's no replacement for that. If you delve into this tool, it's wonderful because there's so many different aspects to it, but it also encourages you to start asking questions and saying, wait, why is this here? How much do I have left? You can visualize how much you have left, which can also be gratifying for you on your journey. So I've just put the general advisement contact info, but of course, your advisor's contact info, so please reach out to them if you have questions or if you want to start a conversation about this. I've also included the DegreeWorks liaison email. This is like if you really see something that looks off, you don't think it's representing the right thing, something looks technically off, you can email this address listed here. All of these contact information, by the way, are also going to be listed in your DegreeWorks toolkit. So you guys can have that as a takeaway from today. I've also included financial aid here just in case, because I sort of touched upon how these courses may reflect, maybe tied to financial aid eligibility. So you want to be careful with that. Always speak to financial aid if you have any direct questions about your personal situation and aid eligibility. And I also encourage you to screenshot this page too. So if you have issues with access to DegreeWorks, and I'm saying purely you getting error messages trying to log into it, or you get a white page that says Oracle on it, or something you're just not able to log into it, you can reach out to our help desk. And finally, if you'd like to reach me or if you have any questions, please feel free to write to me at the first year experience address, and I'll be very happy to help you. Send a copy of the presentation if you'd like. And as I mentioned previously, or alluded to a couple of times, I prepared a small packet for you to take home with you with various materials related to DegreeWorks. This includes the helpful contacts, as well as a short questionnaire to get you to start thinking more about DegreeWorks, sort of like a self-reflection and self-learning exercise. Again, not a requirement, not needed. It's purely a learning exercise, and sort of, for example, I ask you if you feel comfortable logging into DegreeWorks. Do you know how to? They're sort of just prompt questions to sort of ensure that you're thinking in the right terms with this tool, right? So it's more of a guide and a suggestion. So I encourage you to use the materials, share them with your classmates. They're not secret to just, those who attended today, although you guys do get first dibs on them, so that's a good thing. But feel free to disseminate, feel free to share with your colleagues and classmates. And again, I encourage you to always reach out to your academic advisors if you have any questions about the tool or anything that you see on your page that you're not sure about, reach out to them. So thank you for attending. That was the bulk of the presentation itself, but I also wanted to leave some time for questions, as I know that this tool can generate a lot of curiosity and just questions, essentially. I'm very used to those. So if you have questions, feel free to share them now, because I'll be happy to answer them if I can.
Emily, we actually had a couple questions that were submitted ahead of time. I think you may have covered this, but it may be good to just reiterate. So Michael had asked, is there a way to see transfer credits that are still being reviewed?
Good question. So DegreeWorks will only reflect what has actually been accepted and posted. So if they're still under review by admissions or transfer credit evaluation, then they're not going to appear yet on your degree audit. So you'll have to wait until they're actually officially accepted for that to appear.
Okay, and then we had another one from Gloria, and Gloria was asking about how she can get approval to take a very specific class, and how does she find out whether the class is going to be available in the summer term or in any other future term?
So this would be a question for your academic advisor, because they would be able to point you to if you have the requisites for the course, if the course needs departmental permission, for example, if it's offered by a specific department, they can sort of make that connection for you. So I highly recommend reaching out to whoever your assigned academic advisor may be.
Okay, and I think the last question that was pre-submitted was from John, and John was curious, if you're switching majors, if you're an undergraduate degree student and you start in one major and then you're switching to another, how soon can you expect DegreeWorks to kind of recalculate to match your new major?
So that, I'm going to say that's similar to if you added a course or you dropped something, you want to give it about 24 to 48 hours to update. So after the change of major has been effected on CUNY first, that's the source of the information, right? So once that's updated there, you give it about, say, like 24 to 48 hours for that to be fed into DegreeWorks, and then everything's going to be updated and redistributed and recalibrated to reflect the new major.
Fantastic. It looks like we have a question in the chat from Thorla, and Thorla is asking, can transfer credits be reevaluated even after the accepted credits have been posted to DegreeWorks?
So this would be a question for admissions, I believe, right? Because typically my understanding is that they're the ones that do the transfer credit evaluation. So if you have questions or qualms about that, again, I would talk to your advisor, but also you can reach out to admissions, I believe, to see if you feel like something was not, properly evaluated. Always ask, doesn't hurt to ask. So everyone, thank you so much for attending this evening. I appreciate your attention, your questions. And again, I hope that this presentation was helpful to you. Please feel free to reach out to me if you'd like a copy of it. And I strongly encourage you to check out the resources that are in the toolkit that was pasted in the chat. And I hope to see you in a future webinar. Take care.